You ever have a horrible nightmare and you finally wake up sweating and relieved to be awake again, only to realise you're still in the nightmare? Many of you have been in touch this week to tell me you think you left the Jehovah's Witness community only to find yourself getting too deep into an ex-Jehovah's Witness community. I think cults and cultishness are on a spectrum, with Jonestown Massacre a 10 out of 10 and a fitness guru maybe a 4 out of 10. But I've spent the last couple of days looking at the cult of personality that is Lloyd Evans to see where he fits on that scale and whether you might still be in a bit of a cult.
Well, I suppose with prostitution, it's a blurry line with regards to consent and where that, we don't know. That's the truth of it. You couldn't know a Thai prostitute.
Well, I dated a sex worker in Thailand, but
I find it interesting that in most cases, cult leaders will not denounce fellow cult leaders. Normally, the cult followers are blamed for being stupid or gullible, when cult leaders are getting off scot-free and get a free pass. Like, oh well, you were tricked by these crooked cult leaders, too bad. No, it's not too bad. It's time to focus on the cult leaders instead of always the pigeon followers. Now, the cult leaders of the Jehovah's Witnesses denounce mainstream Christianity. Of course, they believe they are the only ones with the correct translation of the scriptures, and they slap their name on it, the New World Translation, because early on with this cult, they wanted to be flagged and tagged as supporting the upcoming New World Order, the one world religion, where we got a taste of that in early 2020 with the pandemic here in the United States, when all the holidays were banned and prohibited from taking place. Everyone was on lockdown. Even Jimmy Fallon, the talk show host, and many other talk show hosts, they had to broadcast from their homes. And Fallon joked about having no St. Patrick's Day. He had to celebrate at home with whatever he had there at home. This is the JW world 24/7, every day of their lives, zero celebrations. That's a taste of the New World Order. When you take away religion, you then turn to governments. And then with the pandemic lockdown, suddenly we were all focused on politics, presidents, and propaganda. Years ago, no one knew who our president was, let alone cared or thought about it. All that's changed with the shutting down of religion. And now other cults have taken over and are disruptors to the peace we once thought we had in our schools and churches and businesses, where there was no manipulation of even the products on a shelf that disappear and are stocked away in a warehouse, pretending there's a shortage. The JWs are on board with this as the cult leaders they are. They cut you off from any socializing other than what is necessary with anyone not a member of their cult. You'll be shunned, ostracized, and cut off permanently from friends, family, and even from your livelihood if you leave the cult. Lloyd Evans has never been in favor of the cult of the Watchtower shutting its doors. If they go away, so does the self-proclaimed leader of the XJW culture. He will also disappear if Watchtower shuts down. He will be pushed to that edge of actually having to get a job and work for a boss that will not put up with his rants, raves, and threats of lawsuits. Evans even did a manifesto berating his wife that's available online, and he will cut off anyone who disagrees with him. Evans made sure to shut down anyone not on board to worship him in the XJW community, and he continues to do this as he wants to be the only voice for the community. The only time he promoted some YouTubers on his website or blog was because they were getting famous on their own, and Lloyd needed that link on his website so he'll get hits and views and ad revenue off of their channel and content. Lloyd Evans went on record on his blog and his YouTube channel opposing the ban of the JWs in Russia. Why? Because a cult leader would never diss their mothership. Watchtower is Lloyd's bread and butter. He promotes them non-stop, pushes their videos in your face non-stop, pushes their propaganda in your face non-stop. He will never encourage persons to leave the Watchtower behind. He will tell you to become atheists because that's the community that was the only one who would make a deal with him to trade subs. That's it. If another group accepted him, he would have been a part of that group. Lloyd would have done flat earth videos ad nauseum if that group had a big following and they gave him free subs and phony thumbs up. But nope, he latched onto whatever group would take him, since he does nothing but tap that keyboard hunting for sex workers whose pimps were having a sale to sample the goods. But here's a catch. Cult leaders don't like to work. They want to do as little as possible, be worshipped as an authority while they count the cash that comes in and doles it out to their cohorts. What job does the JW governing body actually have? Anyone? Anyone? Nothing. They do nothing. They're figureheads for the corporation. They sit around, everyone placates them, they pretend they set policy. When the legal department and service department set policy, and the governing body parrot it. Now they have their fame on their podcast, on their website, so they're kept fat and happy. Same with cult leader Evans. Cult leaders do not work. They are lazy bastards that surround themselves with slaves. They use intimidation on their followers to make them feel like they need them. You need their special knowledge. Evans was an elder that was fired. He failed. He was run out of town, kicked out, and he has the nerve to tell people how to leave the Watchtower? He has no clue. He was run out on the rails and fled to a country where he's grifted off his in-laws for something like 20 years. That's a cult leader. They do nothing but sit around and say how much you need them, count the dough, dole it out to their little co-leaders, go have a drink, spend some time at the local swingers clubs. They perform at open mic events at clubs for free booze and then call it a day well spent. Wake up to the fact that only you can free yourself from a cult, remembering that it is against the U.S. Bill of Rights for governments to intervene with what? Religion, not cults. Religions. If any group is in violation of human rights, they can and will be liquidated, all profits stripped from them, the doors will be shut, the followers will have to find another shepherd to herd them into another pasture, and make them work for a living, sending all their surplus to their new shepherd of the flock of shorn lambs. Governments may not restrict acts or abstentions because of the beliefs they display, to avoid the very sort of religious persecution and intolerance that led to the founding of the United States. The Free Exercise Clause of the Constitution protects against government actions that target religious conduct. This isn't about cults, where the federal government has intervened, and it's gotten worldwide press. The JWs view themselves as a religion, not a cult. Same with Scientologists, who deal with a lot of the same issues of the JWs in that they're not recognized as a religion. Norway wanted to remove the JW religious registration approval like they did for the Scientologists. They're not considered religions but cults. But of course, that's up to the governments to decide. But Norway does not recognize the official Church of Scientology as a religious community. It's registered as a non-profit, although it's estimated that around 8,000 people have taken Scientology-related courses in Norway. The church only has around 100 active members. So, before you run out and support freedom of religion, make sure you're supporting a religion and not a cult. When you leave, make sure you're not jumping to another cult leader. Have a great day.